Okay, turn along with me to chapter 18, which is on page 123. We're going to read the environmental impacts of colonial life. So you have already learned about some colonies and settlements from England, and we're going to talk about the 13 original colonies. And they are commonly divided into 3 regions or groups. These groups are based on geographic location as well as economic and cultural characteristics. The colonial regions and the colonies in each are as follows. Okay, this is very important information, so I'm going to put stars by this. Okay, New England colonies include Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. And as you saw in the video, it includes a little bit of Maine, but that was at the time just Massachusetts. The Mid-Atlantic colonies, or as we call it, the Middle colonies. So I want you to write the word middle. And those are Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, and Delaware. And then the Southern colonies are Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. It says, while each colony is unique, understanding regional similarities and differences helps us understand how and why the colonies developed as they did. So there are similarities and differences. Okay, these are the New England colonies, these are the middle colonies, and these are the southern colonies. You do not have to fill that out, but let's go ahead and write New England, middle, and I'm just shortening it because you have something else you'll be coloring, and then southern. So I'm just going to write NE, mid, and south. That way if you reference back to your book, you have it there. On the next page is our overview. So geography helps colonists meet their needs. Grouping the colonies into regions based on their similar geographic characteristics makes it easier to analyze the role geography played in their development. So just like we learned before, geography is important to where people live. No matter what region they were in, the first priority of the colonists was survival. Remember the Roanoke colony and the Jamestown settlement? Their main focus was survival, and only one of them ended up surviving. That was not easy in a strange new land where they had limited supplies and no experience. They were not prepared. Only after colonists met their basic needs would they have time to focus on earning a profit, growth, government, or other wants. So they needed to meet their basic needs of food, water, and shelter. Physical features of an area could make it easier or harder for colonists to meet their basic needs, and as a result, easier or harder for the colony to survive, thrive, and earn money. So basically, some places it was easier to live, other places it was harder. So these are the physical characteristics that were important to the colonies. They needed to have access to water, not just any water, to clean water. The climate, aka how hot or cold it is year-round, and then the natural resources. So access to water. They needed enough rain to grow crops. So rain is something important that they needed. They need drinkable water to meet their own needs and for their livestock. And then they need access to a river leading to the Atlantic Ocean or to the ocean itself in order to trade with Europe for the goods that they needed, because they didn't have cars and stuff back then, so they needed to ship their things in a ship. So they needed a river for transportation. So I'm just going to box in trade. So they needed it for rain, for drinkable water, and in order to trade. Now let's look at the climate. Climate impacted the colonists' ability to grow crops. Okay, so growing crops is where they get their food. They couldn't just go to the supermarket. So they needed to have a good climate in order to grow crops, aka food. Climate was influenced by how far north of the equator the colony was located. So colonies farther north had colder weather and a shorter growing season. And a growing season is the period in which you can grow things successfully. So north was colder, as you should know. And then south had warmer weather in a longer growing season, so they could grow crops for longer. If you can grow crops for longer, that means you can have more crops. However, the colonies farther south also had a greater risk of drought. So we can use inferencing to know that they maybe didn't have as much rain. And then natural resources. Colonists relied on nearby natural resources to help them meet their needs. Natural resources supplied materials for shelters, clothing, food, and more. So all of these things helped them live where they were. Now what I want you to do is by yourself or with your learning mentor, I want you to go through these and you are going to read through these and see what characteristics, what geographical characteristics do the New England, the Middle, and the Southern colonies have. Now there is a chart right here, but you will be filling out a pre-made chart that you can just do fill in the blank. And then when you answer your questions on there, what you're going to do is you can go back in your book and look. You can always do that unless it's on a quiz or something, because you need to find your text evidence instead of just guessing. You can do this one. It is up to your teacher. And then this one is part of your questions on the next, once you press begin, so you don't have to do that one. This one's in your notes. I think this one's kind of cute. You can do that one if you would like to. And that is all that we are doing for this lesson.